Happy Monday, and welcome back to the Lorden Arts channel. I'm John Lorden. Thank you so much for spending some time with us here today. Case Cracked is the show where we look into a mystery, and what are the critical pieces that help solve that mystery. Today's episode is called The Good Son. Bart and Krista Halderson lived a quiet life in Windsor, Wisconsin with their son, Chandler, or Chaz as he was known to friends and family. Both worked away from home while raising Chaz, a son who by all accounts was quite an overachiever. In early 2021, 23-year-old Chaz was about to graduate from Madison Technical College for computer technology while he worked from home for American Family Insurance. In his spare time, he volunteered to help police as a rescue team scuba diver, a lifeguard, a teaching assistant, and he was an Eagle Scout. He proudly told his parents that he had just accepted a job with Elon Musk's company, SpaceX, and would soon leave to move to Florida to start his new career. On July 4th, a co-worker of Krista's came to her house with another friend looking for her after she failed to show up for work. They couldn't get a hold of her on her cell phone. They noticed both of the family cars were in the garage, and they ran into Chaz at the side door. He claimed to have been in the shower, but had a large bandage on one of his toes. He said the injury happened while playing with his dogs, that he tossed a ball to them and broke the glass in front of the fireplace, then accidentally stepped on one of the pieces. Even though he claimed there was blood everywhere in the house because of the cut, when the couple looked through the front door glass, they didn't see any, but they did see an overturned table. When they asked about Chaz's parents, they were told that the couple had left at about 5 a.m. on July 2nd with another unnamed couple who he claimed he didn't know. They were going to spend the 4th of July weekend at their cabin on White Lake. This didn't sound quite right. Krista was a reliable employee who never missed work. Chaz stated that he had spoken to his parents at about 11 a.m. that day. They had reached the cabin safely and would be attending a parade for the 4th of July celebration. He said they would be back home on the 5th or the 6th. On the 7th, when Bart and Krista had not returned, Chaz went to the local police station and reported them missing. When investigators began to try and track Bart and Krista down, they noticed several odd things. First, neither parent could be reached by cell phone, even though Chaz had shown officers the message his mother sent him. When asked, he said that they must be in a casino or somewhere with no signal. When an officer visited the family home, he noticed that sections of the flooring had been removed, and there was a half wall by the front door that was now missing. When the family cabin was visited, no one was there, and there were no signs that anyone had been there for quite some time. Friends and family stated that the situation was out of character for both Bart and Krista. As investigators dug deeper, they found more and more problems with Chaz's story. News of the disappearance had already spread through the community, and some reported troubling details to investigators. On the 5th, Chaz's girlfriend's mother saw him on their property in nearby Cottage Grove. She reported that he was acting strangely around his SUV and was parked near a shed by the woodline of the property. She said that in the following days, vultures were circling that area. On the 8th, investigators gained permission to search the property, and buried under branches near where the SUV had parked were partial human remains, including a torso. There were also cutting instruments hidden in a water tank, and most disturbingly, at this scene, investigators also found a rifle hidden in a barn. A neighbor stated that on that same day, Chaz approached him and asked if his doorbell camera captures the road or his home. Worried, the man sent a recording of that conversation to police. Investigators wanted to speak to Chaz again. While he was questioned, another lead was being followed. His girlfriend, Catherine Melander, and her family cooperated with police in the hope that Chaz would be exonerated. Unfortunately, it was found that on July 3rd, her Snapchat location data showed him to be in the woods near the Wisconsin River. Chaz said that he was at home doing chores. When the area was searched, more partial human remains were found. On the 10th, an autopsy was conducted on the remains found at the Mellander's family Cottage Grove address. They were confirmed to be those of Bart Halderson. he had been shot in the abdomen by a rifle. The partial remains found at the Wisconsin River belonged to someone else. During a search of the Halderson home, shell casings consistent with an SKS rifle were found. It was found that the gun was given to Chaz by an online friend who stated that Bart and Krista knew nothing about the rifle. Chaz hid it in the basement in a wood pile to keep his parents from knowing about it. In the suspicious message to Chaz on the 4th, reportedly from his mother, Krista said that they were going to a parade that night, but the parade had actually happened the day before. Investigators believe Chaz sent the text to himself from his mother's phone, and cell phone data confirmed that it was sent from their home in Windsor. Subsequent searches of the property turned up bloody tennis shoes. 12 containers were collected from the ash trap in the fireplace, and the ash was shown to contain hundreds of bone fragments. Investigators found a shoe under a shelf in the home that contained the couple's driver's licenses and cell phones, wrapped in a paper towel and tinfoil. Another witness came forward who said that she saw a man matching Chaz's description on July 3rd near Roxbury on a tract of public land managed by the Department of Natural Resources, or DNR. When the site was searched, more partial remains were found. On July 15th, Chaz was charged with first-degree intentional homicide in the death of his father, Bart Halderson, as well as mutilating and hiding a corpse and providing false information on the missing persons investigation. By the end of the month, the remains found in Roxbury and the Wisconsin River were confirmed to be those of Krista. Because not all of her remains were found, the medical examiner couldn't determine the exact cause of death, but did rule that she died of homicidal violence. His charges were then amended, doubling each of his previous charges for a total of 8. At his trial in September, Chaz pleaded not guilty. His defense was rarely heard from, called no witnesses, and their client didn't testify in his own defense. Prosecutors, on the other hand, had a lot to say. It seemed that Chaz had been lying to his parents about everything. He had flunked out of technical college and had no job, and there was no offer from SpaceX. Every time his father would ask to see his paycheck, Chaz would claim that there was some accounting error that led to his check being delayed. He even provided fake emails from HR discussing the issue. Bart then decided to investigate further and started to see some of his son's lies. An appointment was made with Madison College to discuss his son's status at the school, and Chaz knew that he was about to be found out, so he murdered both of his parents. After 2 hours of deliberations on January 1st, 2022, Chaz Halderson was found guilty on 2 counts each of first-degree intentional homicide, mutilating a corpse, hiding a corpse, and falsifying information about a missing person. First-degree intentional homicide carries a mandatory sentence of life in prison. Everybody loses in cases like this. Nothing will bring Bart and Krista back to those friends and family who love them. All they're left with are memories. The last time Brett Halderson spoke to his brother Bart was on July 1st, the same day he disappeared. Quote, "Our family makes it a ritual of contacting each other on our birthdays." And that was the phone call that he had made to me that morning. Brett will never get another birthday call from his brother and has to live with the reality that it's due to the actions of his own nephew. Case cracked. I would like to thank the New York Post, lawandcrime.com, channel3000.com, heavy.com, NBC15.com, and WQOW.com. Of course, the biggest thank you goes to Christy Arnhart for researching and writing up today's case, and here she is now to discuss it with us. Christy, it appears that Chaz had quite a problem with lying to people that were close to him.
Oh, yes. He had a big problem with it. According to WKOW.com, they reported that Chaz also lied to his girlfriend about renting an apartment and buying a car to head down to SpaceX in Florida.
That's the problem with those types of big stories. You just have to have all these bizarre big lies around it.
Well, it gets much worse.
Okay.
He had to escape that lie So to do that, he faked getting a serious concussion in a fall downstairs. He allegedly claimed to have a brain bleed, a hematoma, spinal damage, and had to get his head drilled open. But that's not all. He also said that he was unable to use his legs, unable to drive, now has nerve damage, and is unable to fly on an airplane, and he needs a colostomy bag.
Well, okay. I think we went a little over the edge with that batch. I mean, man. Oh, but I mean, back to the point. I mean, when you lay out these stories and at some point that timer runs out where, oh, aren't you going to go and start that new job now? Then you need some other story and some other story. And I mean, I don't think this is the type of behavior that all of a sudden just kicks on when you're 23 years old or something. This has probably been a lifetime that this has been going on.
I agree.
Was anything that he said true? We had all those awesome things he was supposedly volunteering and doing.
Well, I looked it up, and the Madison Police and State's Department of Natural Resources did not have a scuba diving team, so he didn't help there.
Okay.
But I did find one thing that was true, and he was an Eagle Scout.
Okay. All right.
So,
wow.
Yeah.
Now, in the notes to me, you noted that they caught him just about every way you could get caught. And admittedly, it sounds like he wasn't thinking very... It's interesting. I did think about the tinfoil around the cell phones. Like, was he thinking that would block the signal in some way? Like,
that's the impression I got.
Yeah. Was he worried that, like, because I know some people think that when you power off a cell phone, it can actually still be tracked. So maybe he was thinking that, oh, I'll wrap it in tinfoil and that'll kind of stop it or something. I don't know. But tell us a little more about how you thought he got caught every which way that he could.
And it was so bad I couldn't even put it all in the script.
Okay.
He made so many mistakes. Let me just go through this for you. They tracked his cell phone data. I mean, they're going to do that.
Yeah.
The house, so they knew where he was going all the time.
And his mom's data.
Oh yeah, they tracked it. Even his girlfriend.
Yeah, or data. Whichever way you say it.
I don't think he knows how cell phones work.
Yeah.
Now, to make matters worse, the house would have never passed a forensic team's assessment. His little fix-ups wouldn't have helped anything.
Yeah.
He dropped body parts in places where people knew him, saw him there, and took pictures of what he was doing.
Right. Right.
He acted so suspicious, going around asking all the neighbors about their door cams. I mean, that's a huge red flag.
Well, and it even tipped off the neighbor, just the act of that conversation. The neighbor was like, oh, something's weird with this. Like, the neighbor probably didn't know that this was going to be a homicide investigation, but just like, hey, that's a weird conversation. Let me make sure I get a copy of that to police.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm glad that he did.
I am too. Yeah, that's a good Samaritan there.
It was. Now, his lie about where his parents were was easy to prove wrong too. I mean, officers immediately knew no one had been there. Cell phone data didn't match, all of that. Plus, he's driving all over the place, even though he says he can't.
Mm-hmm.
He even looked up dismembered bodies found in his area hours before they started actually finding them.
Wow. Yeah, just once again, I don't know what it is, but some people, when they decide to be dishonest like that, like they have no idea of time. Like, I think it's so much about you getting out of the moment or manipulating the moment that you don't think about, oh, well, in 2 days, I'm going to have to pay that off somehow, or I'm going to have to, he keeps running up on reality coming back and biting him over and over. But of course, he winds up pleading not guilty, and his legal team uses a pretty unheard of strategy. It's one that I don't bump into too often. I have heard of it being used before, but it's basically the defense of no real defense. What were they hoping to accomplish with that?
See, I thought that was odd too. I don't know that I've really ever run up against this one. Defense attorney Jessa Nicholson answered that for me when she did an interview with News 3. She's not affiliated with the case, but she commented on their strategy. And she said, while the strategy may be unusual, it's not without precedent. She explained that this case was a case of burden of proof. If you bring in a witness, they also bring in alternative versions of events and add to the evidence. So the argument is there is just not enough evidence here until you start bringing all these other people in. So yeah, I had never read about that before. It was interesting to look at.
Yeah. I mean, and with certain other cases where it's heavy circumstantial evidence, I think that I could see that defense kind of work, because it's almost like we don't even have to defend this. Like, you guys are trying to tie this with no forensic information, but here we've got him being spotted at locations where body parts are being found. Like, it's pretty straightforward, not to mention the forensics of the body parts. We've got the weapon, we've got the items that were used, bone fragments in the home. Like, there's just so much connectivity here. I don't know that it was the best defensive strategy, but I think we're all thankful that he was found guilty.
Yes.
I did want to point out one thing. The friend that actually gifted him the rifle, his name was Andrew Smith, and he did something very, very smart. When he gifted the rifle to Chaz, he actually took a picture of the rifle and Chaz's identification as kind of proof of, hey, I'm giving this rifle to someone else. And I think that was really, really key, because all of a sudden, they go look up the ownership on that rifle and they're like, oh, Andrew Smith is the owner of this rifle. Maybe he's related to this case in some way. As soon as investigators came, he was like, oh yeah, no, I gave that to Chaz months ago. Look, I've got this photo that shows the transaction, and done, like, just done and clear. Just really, really, really smart. So I wanted to point that one out as well.
Oh yeah, that was clever.
Yeah. Oh, well, Christy, thank you so much. Really appreciate all your hard work on today's episode. And I've got some other people to thank right now. Thank you, PayPal supporters Jennifer Wilson, Hillary Green, and Brandy Fry. For over 7 years, we have always run limited commercial ads here on YouTube, and we can't do that without support. If you'd like to help the channel keep going and growing, please visit lordandarts.com. There you can sign up for Patreon, sign up for PayPal, buy merchandise, or even just buy us a coffee like Sharon Ayers recently did. We know that learning about the mechanisms that help support and find justice in these cases is important to understand the many unsolved cases we also cover, and we appreciate your support in allowing us to continue doing that. Remember, you can get another Lord and Art story every week on the Seriously Mysterious podcast. A new episode is coming tomorrow, and every Tuesday after that. Visit seriouslymysterious.com and subscribe on your favorite podcatchers. Please don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell icon below if you want to catch one of our weekly Secret Studio live shows. And of course, I'll be back with a new unsolved mystery for you on Friday, right here on the Lord and Arts channel.